Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Lovey Murdoch here, and today we'll be just doing the review of episode 10 of Mob Psycho 100. Oh yes, I was just thinking to myself earlier when I was recording this gameplay to put in the background, how cool would it be to have a Mob Psycho 100 open world game? That'd be amazing. That's something I want to talk about in the future after talk about. But yeah, episode 10, here we go. And we return back and we're at the Japanese tower, I believe anyway. It's not the Tokyo tower, I don't think. It's a different tower. And the claw has made it its hideout. Also keeping the Japanese Prime Minister there. So yes. And the blonde guy is back at the hideout with the gang. Blonde guy says he's still in shock because he lost, and it was the same when he lost to Mob. He had 3 days worth of nightmares after the fight with Mob, so it did. Obviously, if you remember, he had a traumatic experience facing Mob, getting his ass whipped, and that sort of thing. So yeah, and that just explains that. Like yeah, the blonde dude, by the way, is the big fight guy, the big guy, the guy that had the big fight with, and Mob had it with in season 1. And yeah, so yeah, we go back to, we're at the boss of the Claw's home city, so he can monitor if things go wrong, so he can, if anything seems out of shape or doesn't seem like he's lies out of his power or anything like that, he can like monitor it or whatever. Artificial ispers or like sidekicks appeared and attacks the police. So I don't know how he's done it, but he's created like artificial people with psychic powers. And they're fighting the fighting about and they're fighting each other, and the police are not having a good day at the office. And it goes back to the top of the helicopters. One of the 5 users had a helicopter as like a remote control toy. So yeah, that just explains how powerful he is. Like just like wiggling about a helicopter. Then it cuts back to Mob's team, and they're all scared of what's going on, and they're hesitant to fight. So they've seen what's going on TV, and they're not, as you see, not inclined to really put up much of a fight. Reagan says not to do anything and let the police do everything until insurance. So yeah, he's like, he says even with Mob, like, this is going to be so really difficult, and there's no point really. That's until the insurance company rings and says because they've never heard of such an incident because a psychic attacked Reagan's place, they won't be able to pay out. And because of this, Reagan then motivates everyone to go to war so that he can eventually drag the dude who's destroyed his workplace to the insurance company so they can pay him out, so they can explain that this actually did happen. So yeah, so now they are motivated and they go out to attack. Cuts back to Mob's brother and the redhead who is looking after him and looking after his parents, and the boss's son is a parrot, and it turns out they're just fighting around and stuff, and apparently the boss's son is stronger than the boss himself. One of the 5 turns up with his powers. If one of the plans touch you, they will kill you apparently. And they cut to the blonde dude and the gang in the building, send flying cars at the artificial whispers, but are far too weak to do anything. So even with everyone helping, the blonde dude is not very strong to do this on his own, or can't really take him out. A guy called Tihiachi turns up. He can change his face or whatever. The plan is to distract the artificial whispers while other whispers go through the sewers like the claw can and that sort of thing, and defeat the boss. Reagan is chilling with Mob and looking after him. But then they are told that Claw has infiltrated the place they're hiding at and find out where they are. And then I've got this dude's name, but he's like, I think he was keeping guard of him. Then they have hide in the freezer, while it's going on, then it cuts to a cutscene, or it cuts to like the mid-break thing where they do the really cool animations, and basically Mob and Reagan hide in the freezer while the dude hides in a like bottom shelf of things. So people, the artificial sidekicks find out where Reagan and Mob are and proceed to open the door and try and attack him. But Reagan beats them with a spray which they used from last season, which is cursed, which is basically a spray that knocks a load of people out. One of the big five turns up, gets knocked out with the spray too. Then it gets like the big musty guy turns up, so he gets knocked out of the spray. Back at the tower, and Swazia seems to have doubts. So he's the dude with the umbrella, and the claw boss, the boss of the claw, says like, "Oh, the reason why I win things and do so well things is because I don't consider how others feel and live my life the way he wants." So he's just very self-centered and narcissistic. I don't know if that's the right word, honestly, or just thinks very highly of himself and doesn't really care for other people's opinions and that sort of thing. But then we get back at the freezer where big guy wakes up. The big guy is one of the, like I said, is one of the massive. I didn't read bad names, so I just called him the big guy, and wants to attack them again and blast the hole through the wall and turns into a red form. Dimple takes over Mob's body and attacks the big guy, but seems like Dimple knows combat. I think we already knew that anyway. Though Reagan did try and attack the big guy with the spray, but it didn't work out, unfortunately, for him. The big guy throws the mob's body around while Dimple's possessed him, but luckily the shoe flew around through that, so he wouldn't do any massive damage. They enter at the building, so Mob and the big guy enters at the building where Reagan stays. Shows kids. So here's a scene with kids being presented by the news, by the world's defense, or by Japan's defense anyway. But they're too not really concerned, more concerned about their like mobile games and that sort of thing. And then it cuts to a scene when the athletes are back. And then it cuts back to the blonde guy, and Scars find the blonde guy and his team. Turns out to be one of them to be a traitor, and he says like he has a spy and he's willing to give information on them. So it seems that the blonde guy has been captured along with his team. Blind Isper then attacks the Scars that are underneath the seal. So yeah, Mob goes into the crowd, and then cuts the Mob go into a crowd, but gets blown away by one punch and goes flying across the sea. But during that education, they do see Mob, or Dimple sees in Mob's body like he's crushed, and he's like, oh, if they see what's going on, if she sees what's going on, Mob will just erase me from existence. So he goes flying across the city so hard that Dimple gets blown away and unfuses with Mob's body. But luckily lands into the workout team. Big guy goes up and attacks them, and he knocks out the captain. But then it goes to the Josuke looking dude, and he attacks the big guy. But it seems this is a JoJo's reference, because he does like a demon rush, but it's like aura or Dora attack, and yeah, but he still gets his ass whipped as well. Then he takes all of them out, ready to finish off Mob, but then captain of the sports team stops him by taking a foot on him. So he's in the press up position, and the big guy's like standing on him, pressing his foot against him, and yeah, pushing all of his weight on him. But the big captain is not taking it. and saying he will protect Mob because he motivates him and helps him and the team go further and push their limits. So this is like the best part of the episode, because he's saying stuff like, "Oh, that Mob helps us like grow and progresses through things." Even though Mob may be weak in everything, he still like helps the team like progress and become more strong. And it's a real power struggle. Like he's really strong, like this dude, and he's like taking all his power. Like he's saying to Mob, like, "Oh, like it's you." Yeah, like I said, like he motivates him, that sort of thing. But then then Dimple takes over the captain's body, and then goes out all attack on the big dude. So yeah, then he goes into this like weird 100% muscle form and starts attacking the big dude. Then he ultimately wins because then he says, what did he say? He says, "Oh, because I've actually worked hard to get my muscles and you haven't. That's why I ultimately win." And then and then the team like praises him. Goes back. Then he goes back to normal, and then the team praises him for doing all this hard work and being him. But then the big dude gets up, but Mob wakes up and defeats the big guy easily. Then Mob goes. Then the team thank Mob and all that sort of thing, and see if Mob's okay. Then Mob goes, and they cut to the last scene. The Claw's son, Boss's son, comes up to the headquarters and confronts his father, and yeah, that's where the episode ends. And the music plays. Now, as far as this is an episode, I'm not gonna be lying, it's not as good as the previous episodes, if I'm gonna be totally honest, compared to all the other episodes. Or it's like I said, this is my favorite second anime ever, behind Hunter x Hunter. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, it's not bad exactly, but it's not really like got any better, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. I'm not enjoying this arc. I think it'll change my mind. I think it's just we're still building up and still like progressing towards like the final like 2 or 3 bits. So I'm not going to like hold them like. I'm not going to criticizing them too hard for that, because it's not really precisely their fault. But yeah, I have enjoyed, but this is definitely worth watching episodes. The last bit was like signifies like what I like about Mob Psycho 100. Is like Mob's progression, and it's nice to see that like Mob might face not only himself but others around him as well, just to get stronger and that sort of thing. But anyway, guys, that bit it's today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. It's been your boy Luffy Murdoch. Love you all. I'll see you next time. Peace.